Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. Oh my God, producing. And producer Zach, the best executive producer in the game. Yeah, you know, look.
I'd go to the University of Producer Zach all day.
I'm looking over at Zach, and I got a little too excited. That's on me.
That happens a lot.
Does the University of Producer Zach have to offer?
It would be an unbelievable school.
Was it the UPC?
You go to school and Zach's teaching a class in producing. You walk out of there, and I think Fox Sports, ESPN, all the big boys are knocking on your door. The Paul Farrington Show.
We don't call him the best executive producer in the game just by happenstance. It's not because he was the only guy available. It's because he's the best.
And he's back in his neon too.
Oh, Zach's contract. Again, we talk about contracts on this show. We just shelled out a lot for Ziggy. The contract when Zach eventually starts to hold out here, it's gonna be a wild off season on the show, trying to negotiate this deal with Zach. And you can just see him. He's smiling ear to ear right now, excited about the payday he's about to get. So producer Zach does a great job.
Are you awake, Zach?
I am awake.
Producer Zach does a very good job. If you're enjoying this content, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you guys have any friends, or if any of you guys have like businesses, and we're looking for sponsors ahead of the 2025 NFL season. So if you know anyone that you think would be interested in sponsoring this show, we have slots available that we're trying to fill before the season starts up. And remember, once the season starts up, it's going to be all systems go. So you get in while it's low, buy low here, and then whoever's sponsoring this show should see some massive results. Although I don't know if I can actually say that because I can't guarantee anything. But if you're looking for anyone, we are all ears. And you
will make unbelievable sales.
Yes.
In our hearts.
In our hearts. So we have picked our location for the show meetup at Lambeau Field in Green Bay for the NFL draft. We will be going to Stadium View is the bar that we are decided to go to. Everyone's saying that that's a great bar. It looks like it's going to probably be packed, but from everything I've seen,
there's nowhere in Green Bay that's not going to be packed.
Yeah, this seems like the location. So we appreciate everybody who gave us recommendations. Stadium View is the place where we're going to go Wednesday evening, probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And we'll be there for...
We'll have more details as the day gets closer about the time, but that's the place.
Hopefully there for a few hours, and looking forward to seeing everybody. I was told by one of my friends I was talking about desserts the other day, guys, and my friend Josh, he was just going on and on about different desserts. I don't know that much, I realized as I was in this conversation. And I'm talking like chocolate chip cookies and ice cream and brownies, and Josh pulls out Pizookie, which I've never heard.
The Pizookie.
So yeah, Josh said, I can't believe you've never heard that.
You've never heard of the Pizookie?
Don't look it up. Don't see a picture. Just ask your friends on the show and see what happens. Have you heard of it, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
Pizookie? Do you can describe it to me?
Yeah.
Well, all right. What's Pizookie?
What's a Pizookie? It's like a cookie skillet, basically. But like they have different ones. Like they have cake ones, they have cookie ones.
Yeah. It's like the name's from pizza cookie. So it's like in a pizza. It's like pizza size, but you cook it in a skillet.
You ever been to like BJ's? Wow. BJ's Brew House?
Oh my gosh.
The Pizookie's a good dessert. It's you put some ice cream on top, you put some toppings. It's a pancake but better.
Oh, I'm looking at chocolate chip cookie with some vanilla ice cream and a little caramel drizzle on it.
That does look very good.
Does anyone has Pizookies? We'll sponsor. We'll take sponsorships from a Pizookie company.
I want to try awesome now too.
Yeah, we might have to cut the show early. Just start baking.
PFS baking vlog.
My favorite dessert ever is cheesecake.
Really?
New York style or regular?
Really? New York style cheesecake.
I don't think anything touches ice cream.
Some whipped cream on there. Little like chocolate drizzle on the side.
Maybe we audible or draft today to dessert.
Maybe we just cancel the show and go get some desserts. I'm starting to get.
I would be down if you would.
We do cheesecake, some ice cream, Pizookie. We'll fly down to Virginia and hang out with Ziggy and just have a dessert fest. Anyway, though, thank you for enlightening me. I had no idea what Pizookie was. That looks delicious.
I know you and Ziggy wouldn't. I actually would.
Fly down to Virginia?
No, I cancel the show and get some dessert.
Oh, get dessert? I would love that dessert.
We know you would, Jack. We know you would.
So today's episode, at the end, since the NFL draft is coming up, we're going to have a draft before we head out to Green Bay. The landmark draft will be at the end of the show today. And when you really think about it, there are just an unbelievable amount of landmarks in the world. I'm not quite sure if I've settled on the number one landmark if I were to come up with the number one pick. So we'll see what happens there at the end of the episode. Producer Zach is pissed off. He's fed up about the Dolphins. So we're going to cover them a little bit. But today's episode, we're going over a couple questions around each NFC North team here, okay? So I sat down the other day and I was like, what do people in the NFC North want to hear right now? What are they thinking about?
Super Bowl.
Beyond the draft. Oh, yeah, the Super Bowl. Yeah, summer. Yeah, the summer of the Super Bowl. But beyond the draft, which I personally, I don't know about you guys, I'm starting to get a little bit bored with that content until I'm ready for the draft to happen. When the draft happens, I'll be locked in. But we've covered all the stories. We've talked about all the players. There's only so much more I can listen to Jack say Shamar Stewart is the next Danielle Hunter.
I think that was one episode.
And that's
like,
about
legitimately, that was one episode.
Well, who knows? We might have to ask Shamar Stewart at the draft whether he thinks he's the next Danielle Hunter.
We've tied you. You are connected to Shamar
I'll
Stewart.
I'll go up to him.
You and Jackson Dart and Shamar Stewart. That's the threesome right there. That'd be a fun threesome.
I can't believe Jackson Dart's not going to be at the draft. His number one fan is going to be there.
Yeah.
And he won't.
Really disappointing.
So he'll be there.
Anyway, I went into my cave and I started thinking, all right, what do these people want to hear? Because frankly, I had no idea when I first thought about it. But then I thought, all right, let's go to the Vikings first. And I was thinking about JJ McCarthy, right? That's the story with the Vikings this offseason. You guys are going to be really pissed when you hear what's about to come out.
I know what's coming.
Everyone's going to be really pissed when they hear what comes out of my mouth. But I truly do believe in JJ McCarthy. In fact, I actually believe in JJ McCarthy more than probably most people in the world do. Is that because I'm a Vikings fan? I have bias? Probably a little bit. But it's also because I like to believe in people. So what did I do? I started digging around. How can JJ McCarthy bring success to the Vikings this year? How can he bring success in the future? Who can I compare him to? And the guy that I decided to start looking into comparisons with JJ McCarthy just so happened to be the 7-time world champion, greatest player of all time, Tom Brady. And Ziggy's taking off his microphone right now. But I want to dive into why I actually think that there are some comparisons that can be made here.
Went to the same school.
We
Same
college. We need to dive into. Look, I understand that if you put the two guys side by side, their games are different, right? But I think there are some similarities here that make me believe in JJ McCarthy as the quarterback of the Vikings.
Same college.
Year. And a lot of it, and you know, Brady comes out and says it himself here. Brady is very impressed with JJ. But what I love the most about JJ McCarthy is the approach that he has. I really do believe that that's when it comes to the quarterback position, obviously you need talent. But I love the mentality. I love the way that JJ McCarthy is a student of the game. And he comes in, his approach to everything is it's detail oriented. And you listen to the way Aaron Jones, Harrison Smith, all these Vikings players talk about him. I know that, comparing him to Tom Brady off the top is absurd. But when you really dive down into this here, I think that his approach to the game is one that lines up with what you want a successful young quarterback to look like. And it makes me confident when I hear the rest of the Vikings saying every day he comes into practice, he's got his notes, he's got reads, he goes above and beyond every single day. You don't always hear that with young players in the league. And that makes me very excited for next season of what we could get from JJ.
I'm gonna go walk on Mars tomorrow. That's. I mean, look, I do also. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback, but somebody who was injured early last year and hasn't even played a snap yet, and the best quarterback of all time can't be in the same sentence.
Hold on.
There are several quarterbacks this league has seen, several who I'm sure have come into practice every day with their notes and
Tim Boyle,
the great reads and blah, blah, blah. A million quarterbacks who have had success and won Super Bowls and that you can compare him to. Tom Brady's not that. I mean, come on.
No, I'm not out here saying that he's Tom Brady.
No, Jack, listen. I'm going to give you some simple analysis that proves that what Paul says is true.
But it's not.
No, I'm going to prove it to you right now. How many Super Bowls did Tom Brady go to? How many Super Bowls did Tom Brady go to?
10?
Like 15.
They went to 10.
10. What number did Tom Brady wear at the University of Michigan?
10?
Yeah. What number did JJ McCarthy wear at the University of Michigan?
I thought he was 12. He was 10?
He was 9.
9.
So look, I'm not saying that JJ McCarthy is going to be as good as Tom Brady because he's not. He's only going to take the Minnesota Vikings to 9 Super Bowls. So that's all I got.
All right, you guys are no fun here. Here's what
I'll say this, right? There's no doubt he's a hard worker. There's no doubt he's doing his best. I know it's the off season, so we got to put stuff out there about JJ McCarthy.
No, I'm not just like spewing nonsense right here.
Saying he's Tom Brady. I mean, you're doing what every Vikings.
I'm not saying he's I'm not saying he's Tom Brady.
The similarity is of Tom Brady is the same as of Tom Brady. They're like great with notes and working in the film room.
That's like
he tries his best.
I think when you look at the Bradys, the Mannings, the Drew Brees guys, they all have this unbelievable work ethic that JJ McCarthy has. And when you look at JJ McCarthy's career at Michigan, I understand a lot of running, Jim Harbaugh, great offensive lines, but just the things that you want to stand out in a young quarterback, he possesses them. It's the ability to operate under pressure. I think the best drive of his career was against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Game on the line, fourth quarter, he leads them down the field. Fourth down conversions, they get the ball in overtime, they win the game, right? They go to the national championship. He's 27-1 at Michigan. The guy hasn't lost. He's lost one game since high school.
So it's going to be like Trevor Lawrence when you start to lose the NFL. He's going to spiral.
Same thing. 90-yard drive at Auburn in the Jordan-Hare Stadium at night.
Bryce Young?
Yeah. To tie the game. Remember that?
I think that these are these are good. Look, we're talking about number one picks in the draft right here, but I'm saying I'm looking at JJ McCarthy. I think he has good decision making. Yes, he's a good runner as well. Everything that JJ does, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's as the talent level of a Caleb Williams. But if you're a Vikings fan, you're sitting back saying, man, I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers, or man, I'd rather have re-signed Sam Darnold. I think JJ McCarthy has been pretty underrated throughout his entire time in college and even coming into the draft amongst the other quarterbacks, where I do believe in him next year to be a steady quarterback. Look, he might not be a superstar, but I do think he has that potential with the way he composes himself. All Packers fans are probably furious right here. They're probably.
Look, all I'm going to say is, you know who TJ Watt said was the hardest working quarterback he'd ever seen in his whole life?
Who?
Kenny Pickett. You know who everyone Bears said was the hardest working quarterback they'd seen their entire life? Mitch Trubisky and then Justin Fields. Almost every player in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position, is busting their ass, working really, really hard, studying film. Most of them just aren't any good. We don't know if JJ McCarthy's any good yet.
I want winners. And you take JJ McCarthy and the success that he had at Michigan, you take his skill set, you give him to Kevin O'Connell, put him in one of the best offenses, maybe the best offense in the National Football League outside of Philly. And if you were to strip everything away other than QB. And I think I think it's all there for JJ to have a very, very good season.
You know what the NFL does? It brings winners and makes them losers.
Trevor Lawrence lost one game before he entered the NFL. Two games, including high school and college.
I think JJ
has a better mentality than Trevor Lawrence.
JJ's Bryce Young part 2.
Bryce Young part 2?
Yeah.
Would you put Bryce Young on the Minnesota Vikings? And I think he
probably would.
Much better.
JJ and yeah, you're right. That's a stupid take.
But again, I'm just saying the things that I see in JJ McCarthy, his approach, I like it. He says all the right things.
You see Tom Brady.
All the right things. I see it. I see Tom Brady tendencies. And you're wrong if you disagree with me. You're absolutely wrong if you disagree with me.
But there's probably like a million other QBs who have had Tom Brady tendencies who don't come close to fanning out.
Tom Brady's the one out here tweeting that JJ McCarthy, the thing that separates him is his mind and the way that he approaches and that he won't accept losing.
See, I want a quarterback who's separated because they're really good at football, not because they're really smart.
There are a lot of quarterbacks who are really good at football. Yes, like Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, they're unbelievable at football. I'm not.
Jayden Daniels, unbelievable work ethic. That's what everybody said.
I'm not saying a work ethic automatically makes you a championship quarterback. I'm just saying that when people are doubting JJ McCarthy, I think across the board, he checks all the boxes that you like.
I mean, there's one box he doesn't check. Having played good football in the NFL.
The whole thing about this is expectations and what you can hope for.
Yeah, you can hope for whatever you want, right? In the early pages of the B edition of the Critique of Pure Reason, Kant says you can think whatever you want as long as it's not contradictory. That doesn't mean it's possible.
I just
you have to prove possibility, and we have not seen JJ McCarthy prove that it's possible for him to be great yet.
I think it's funny. I do actually think he'll be good. I do like him, seriously though, and I'm rooting for him. and he's got a good cast with all the.
So am I turning you around here?
No, I just think it's very funny to watch somebody who to win big games in college just handed the ball off to that running back who's great, and then gets injured, hasn't played in the NFL yet. And here we are, him and Tom Brady in the same freaking
Again, this wasn't supposed to be me saying that JJ McCarthy will emulate the career of Tom Brady.
Remember against Penn State? What was that? He had they didn't pass the ball in the second half.
Did they win the game?
Who was that running back?
Blake Corum?
Yeah, Corum. He gave the ball to Corum. Corum won the championship. Then he gets hurt, hasn't played yet, and here we are, the Paul Farrington show. I see Tom Brady in this guy.
No, there's one person on the Paul Farrington show saying that. I do not want to be grouped in with the Vikings homer here.
Everyone who plays with him and everyone who coaches him says this is a special dude.
That's what they said about Kenny Pickett.
Special dude.
No one's show me how many people coming out about Kenny Pickett and Kenny
who's that?
No, I'm serious. No, you have forgotten this. Look at him. Jack remembers. Everybody said Kenny Pickett was special.
People didn't say that about Kenny. Maybe the Steelers after they drafted him, sure. But everyone looked at Kenny Pickett when he came out of college and said, this is a gross overdraft by the Steelers. This is a third-round talent who's being drafted.
No, you don't understand. People are saying right now. Last year, people on the Eagles were talking about Kenny Pickett and his unbelievable work ethic.
Sure, yes, he can have a great work ethic. I don't like the talent of Kenny Pickett did not translate. That was a failure, a failed transfer of talent from college to pro.
Lawrence is a special dude.
Lawrence had the physical attribute.
I'm sure.
Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. So if we get Trevor Lawrence, I'd be thrilled.
I'd be better. Yeah, well, I would. I actually.
That guy's not becoming Tom Brady.
That's kind of interesting. If you said right now the ceiling of JJ McCarthy is Trevor Lawrence.
So if he becomes Trevor Lawrence, that's an incredibly successful outcome for this pick.
It is, but would you? I don't know. Would you sign up for that?
Yep.
Yeah, you think
1,000%. If he becomes Trevor Lawrence.
Well, if he becomes,
Lawrence was what they were 8-3 before he got hurt a couple of years ago.
If he becomes a Trevor Lawrence type with the team around him, they'd actually be probably pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like Trevor Lawrence is doing it in Duval County. You take it up to where the Minnesota Vikings play. We'll be okay.
You're not going to find anyone in the NFL right now calmer, more poised under pressure, and a better leader than JJ McCarthy.
Can he play?
No, take that back. No, we're wrapping this segment. Paul's lost it.
I just having a little bit of fun with that, but I'm telling you guys, like last year we were sitting here and I said Sam Darnold may have a career year with the Vikings, and I was laughed off the stage. I was laughed out off the show.
You were laughed out. Jack had us winning 13 or 14
No, by listeners, by people who listen, by people I talk to. Everyone's out here saying you're an idiot for believing in Sam Darnold. I know you did, but you
now you're an idiot.
But Sam Darnold came out and was
Jack's never wrong.
Candidate.
I've never ever wrong.
So if I come out here and I say JJ McCarthy has tendencies of all-time greats, and for that reason I believe in him as a quarterback next year because I trust his work ethic to get him in a place where he's ready to play. I trust Kevin O'Connell saying this is the guy. I feel good about that.
I think everybody who's drafted to be a QB in the NFL has tendencies to be great.
Jamarcus Russell didn't have he had tendencies to be great, but he had no work ethic. He had no work ethic. No, I misspoke. He had no work ethic.
That was absurd.
He had no work ethic.
He didn't have no work ethic. He was a codeine addict who had everybody he loved around him die.
Okay. What?
Yeah, wait to dump what? If you not, yeah, nobody ever gives Jamarcus Russell any respect.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's move on. So
unbelievable.
I want to go to the Chicago Bears. So people are already.
Oh, is Caleb Williams Patrick Mahomes? He's got Mahomes-like tendencies, guys.
Yeah. Look, people are going to be really mad about that take. It wasn't supposed to be JJ's Tom Brady.
You shouldn't have opened by saying, you know who JJ McCarthy's just like? Tom Brady.
He reminds me of him. I see some similarities. All right. The Bears. So
Justin Fields reminds me of Michael Vick.
He should remind you of Michael Vick. The Bears. So I sat down after I compared JJ McCarthy to Tom Brady. I thought, all right, what can we talk about the Bears here? And obviously the big question about them is, are they the team that's going to take the leap in 2025? We've seen two big leaps, I would say. I'd say if you were to highlight two teams over the past 2 years who have taken a big leap, who would you guys say? Last year, who took the gigantic leap?
Commanders.
The year before that, 2023, who took the gigantic leap?
Lions.
Packers.
Let's keep thinking. 2023. What team took the gigantic leap? Similar to the Commanders in a lot of ways.
NFC?
No.
It was AFC. Texans.
Yep, the Texans. We sat there in 2023 and we said, I remember we looked up the odds to get the number 1 pick in the 2024 draft, and Houston, I believe, was 1 or 2. I think they were 1, actually. And they wound up going to the playoffs. Year 1 of CJ Stroud. Jayden Daniels last year leads the Commanders. But there's another piece to that puzzle that Jack is going to be very upset with. The other piece to each of those puzzles is it was year 1 of DeMeco Ryans, and it was year 1 of Dan Quinn in Washington last year.
Because they needed culture changers.
Culture changers, exactly. Chicago Bears have been a dumpster fire. They've been a shit show for a really, really long time. And this is now year 1 of Ben Johnson, someone that everybody around the NFL has believed could be a culture changer for a pretty long time. Number 1 coaching candidate coming out. Caleb Williams is not a rookie like Jayden Daniels or CJ Stroud was during their ascension, but I think that actually, if anything, bodes well for the Bears. And when you look you look at Chicago top to bottom, the other big thing that they did was for the first time in a while, they came out in the offseason and said, let's actually address our needs. Let's actually address the offensive line. Let's actually make it so that our draft pick at number 10 here can feel like more of a luxury than just plugging into an actual need. The Bears are in really good shape as an organization right now for the first time in a really long time. And I think that the belief should be higher than ever. Higher than when they drafted Justin Fields. Should be higher than coming off the 13-3 season with Mitch Trubisky, where there were glaring holes on that roster that were covered up by a generational Khalil Mack season and a defense that had 29 turnovers forced. I think it might have been 29 interceptions.
It was 29 takeaways.
Takeaways, yeah. So I look at Chicago this year, and I think that they're the team that you circle as one who could take the pretty big leap. The concern I have, actually, and what's disappointing for Bears fans, is that the schedule's really hard. So I actually think that the Chicago roster is going to play a lot better next year, but I'm not sure if it'll translate into the same kind of success that the Commanders and the Texans had last season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I do think it's a fair point to say that that's the team who takes the leap. But I say that more so because I have a hard time seeing really who else it would be. When it was Houston,
the Patriots.
I mean, I think they're so down in the dumps, the Patriots. Whereas
Think about the quarterback. What else do you need?
Houston had Stroud when they took their jump.
Patriots have May. They bring in Vrabel.
Chicago's
big defensive additions.
Chicago's roster is much better than the Pats around that, right?
I think so. I mean, I don't. If you compare them both, well, look, the Patriots went out. They had a pretty good offseason.
All I'm saying is, like, Stroud was like the flashy star.
Mm-hmm.
Jayden Daniels, a flashy star. Caleb Williams also, his people do love him as that kind of flashy star who can make plays. Kind of unlike Drake May. Like, he's just more flashy and more attractive in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that was CJ Stroud, and that was Jayden Daniels.
He's not just more attractive in that sense.
You're right. He also paints his nails pink. So, but yeah, now the offensive line is built up. He has
Adunze,
DJ Moore, right? So the pieces are there.
Maybe Tyler Warren.
Yeah, right. After the draft, like, you never know. The pieces are there for this team to be solid and to exceed expectations. I think there should be hope. I think there's a better chance of them than a lot of others.
Well, it's cute that you're saying that. All that nice stuff about Caleb Williams, because we all know that DeAndre Swift is the focal,
the engine.
I also do agree. Like, I don't think Caleb Williams is good, but I'm just saying why Bears fans should have hope if they think he is good.
Ziggy, do you think that the Bears, if you're picking a team, if you're pinpointing that team that's going to take the jump, is it fair to call the Bears that team?
One thing I've learned, I went back for a while and took a look at teams trying to figure out. This is the beginning of the offseason, trying to figure out whether or not quarterbacks surrounding talent had a huge impact on how players ended up doing over the first couple of years of their career. And one thing I realized from that is we're really, really bad at predicting who's going to be in a good situation and who won't. Because there's so many factors and the quarterback plays such a big role. Is the offensive line good? Hard to tell. Are the weapons good? Hard to tell. Like, there's just so much going on for every player. I think that the Bears are a natural candidate to be good next year. And honestly, the Bears were not as bad last year as a lot of people think. They, more than any other team in the NFL, they were completely held back by the coaching situation. There were no leaders in that room. And still, they won 5 games and were very close to winning more, playing a very hard schedule. So I said last year, the goal wasn't win total. The goal was Caleb Williams improving, and he did. This year, I think you can't sit back and say, well, we have a schedule against teams that were good last year. You never know who's going to be good and who isn't. The Bears have to win games. And if they're good enough, I'm not saying they're going to win 13, 14, 15 games, but there's a reason the division is in play.
Yeah, I do feel, though, we can come back to this question in a couple weeks when the draft has come to a conclusion, though, as well. I mean, let's say...
Yeah, they did number 10 pick.
Right. But then also a team like, I don't know, it depends how much you love Cam Ward. And the Titans get him. And they're playing the Colts and the Jags and not Green Bay and the Lions.
Yeah, but who knows? Who knows when a team's going to be good, right? Every year there are teams. Divisions end up way harder or way easier than expected. Yeah. Like, teams would have circled the 49ers last year and said, that's going to be one of our hardest games of the entire year.
And teams would have circled the Vikings and said, that should be a win.
Yeah.
Would have done that. Most teams would have circled the Commanders and said that's a win too. So yeah, you're right. You can't look at it like that. But I really do think that the Bears are. It's funny. I saw Danny Parkins went on his show this morning, and he was wearing. It was really funny actually. He was wearing 3 championship rings. A huge Bears fan, and he said, he's like, yeah, I'm taking the off-season Super Bowl win. He said, I'll take the one from 2022. I'll take last year's, and I'm taking this year's because I really believe. It was a great segment, but we can make fun of the Bears again for all of the off-season Super Bowls that they've won here, for being the best off-season team and then flopping during the regular season. But I really do think that this is a year where we should see some major growth. And that's a great point you made, Ziggy. They were 1-5 in the division last year, but actually think about those games, right? They lost in overtime to the Vikings in Chicago in a game, honestly, where the Vikings kind of kicked their ass, but they came back late. But still, overtime game.
You get a close win however you can, right?
Blocked field goal against the Packers to lose. And the Thanksgiving Day game against the Bears with the coaching disaster at the end.
Yeah. Well,
and then they beat Green Bay, but Jordan Love was hurt at the end in that game. But still, those are 4 games in your division where it really could have gone either way at the end of it.
And if the Bears won 4 games in that division, you just need to imagine not giving up the Hail Mary and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ifs, and we can, and this is any Packer fan.
But they're close, right? That's the thing.
If. But
this is the first time in how long that the Bears have felt genuinely close to being a good team with competent players at important positions. Like, when was the last time you could actually think that? Maybe after the Mitch Trubisky fluke year. Was the last time you really felt could have, like, even could have defensively said this team could be good?
I think you're right, Jack.
It's Matt Forte, Brandon Marshall, and Jay Cutler.
It's been forever.
I think the expectations I think this is like the highest expectation the Bears should have in 30 years.
What about Denver?
Denver's not bad. It depends on what you.
Yeah, but Denver wouldn't be the same level of turnaround.
Yeah, they made the playoffs. Last year.
It is also so tough. Like in that AFC, it's so hard for other teams to really.
I mean, look, if the Broncos win the AFC West, then there's the biggest turnaround. Like a lot of teams, the Chargers. If the Chargers win the AFC West, even though they were a playoff team, but this is where we're talking about, like a 5-win team going to a 10-win team.
Yeah.
Or a 3-win team. And I think the Patriots and Bears are probably the 2 teams to look at for next season. All right. So that's what I thought about the Bears. And then I decided to think a little bit about the Detroit Lions. And the Lions have been a unbelievably boring team this offseason. We've had Lions fans comment, can you talk about the Lions more? And, we talk about the NFC North a lot. It's just like, what are we supposed to talk about with this team?
Yeah, they've added a couple good players in free agency to replace the couple good players they let go. And otherwise, they're just saying, we're the big dogs. Come and get us.
Yeah, and even Lions fans that I've reached out to, I'm like, what can we talk about with the Detroit Lions? And every answer I've gotten is honestly not really much. But I sat there in my cave again, and I started thinking, I went, you know what Lions fans should really be considering here is, are they actually the top dog or not in the NFC? And I think most people coming into this season would say no. Most people would say it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And I started wondering whether or not it should be Philly. Because Detroit's coming off this 15-2 unbelievable season. People forget the story of the 2024 season was the Detroit Lions season. It was not the Philadelphia Eagles season until Super Bowl Sunday, really. Until they beat the crap out of the Commanders. All the way up until the Commanders went into Detroit and upset the Lions, it was the Lions season to be spoiled. And that's where the curse of Detroit came into play. But it was a magical year for Detroit. It's one that's going to be very, very hard to replicate. But when you take a step back and think about this Lions roster and them getting back Aiden Hutchinson and them signing DJ Reed and them losing the coordinators, that's like the big piece here. I'm not sure whether or not it's fair to put them above Philly, who's coming off a Super Bowl win. But I'd like to, because 15-2 is 15-2. You know what I mean? So do you think they're being disrespected right now, not being called the number one NFC team?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's disrespect. The Lions are awesome, but I myself would put Philly at number one.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what Detroit did 2 years ago, right? Fantastic. Kind of came out of nowhere. And it's like, whoa, Detroit is here, NFC Championship game.
It's okay to say Philly. Like, it's okay to say Philly.
Philly to me is the best team and the team to beat in the NFC. Detroit is right behind them. Detroit, a couple of years back, NFC Championship game, had the game won. Should have been in the Super Bowl. Dan Campbell says, we might never get back here. You never know. It's hard to get back here. Most of the season last year, they looked awesome. And I thought for sure this year is the shoe-in. They get back there. And their team's going to win the Super Bowl. I was saying it most of the year.
You guaranteed it. Almost annoying.
Yeah. Some dumb luck, some injuries.
Some curses.
Number one seed. And they don't make it as far as they did the year before. And now you have Philadelphia and forget about their Super Bowl win, right? But how about even just 2 short years prior? They were in the Super Bowl as well. So we're talking about a team who has played in 2 Super Bowls in the last, 3 seasons. A team who's won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, who's proving he's one of the best quarterbacks and most dynamic players in the entire league.
Winner.
A winner.
Like JJ McCarthy.
Yes. And the Lions, who haven't been to the Super Bowl. So it's not disrespect. The Lions are great. Probably the second best team in the NFL. They're not the team to beat in the NFC. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the best team in the NFC.
The thing is, though, so everybody's talking about the coordinators that the Lions lost, and fair enough. But one of the nice things about not going to the Super Bowl is you don't lose random players for no reason because teams get really impressed by what they did in the Super Bowl. Right? It's like the Eagles or the Lions, the only player they lost who played more than 20% of their snaps last year was Carlton Davis. And they signed DJ Reed to replace him. Other than that, they didn't lose anybody who did anything for them last season. Meanwhile, you look at some of the stuff that like Philadelphia had to go through, right? You think of like that Milton Williams contract. Like he played 1 good game and the guy's never played more than 45% of the snaps in his entire career. So he signs for like a close to market resetting contract just because he was on a Super Bowl team. You look at Josh Sweat, solid player, important contributor, get a huge deal with Arizona. Like the Eagles lost some important players because of the Super Bowl effect. And that's part of why it's so hard to go to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row or year after year. If you're Kansas City, you can lock down a couple of stars because they sign gigantic deals and just hope they can elevate everyone else. But it's very hard and very rare to do that. You need an all-time quarterback to have a chance, I think. And Jalen Hurts is a very good player. He might even be elite, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not those guys who find a way to get there quite a bit over the course of their career. So I think not enough people are paying attention to the players who've departed from Philly. I think people are just super excited because, the Lions lost their coordinators. If you're keeping all the players, it's easier to maintain continuity. I'm sticking with the Lions here. I think there's a reason that they're going to be the best team in the NFL next year.
It's funny you mentioned the Eagles and the departures because going into the draft, when people are talking about needs for the Eagles, most people will say, they could probably use some help on the defensive line. And immediately everyone goes like, what? Like anyone who watched the Super Bowl, which is basically everyone, and more people watch Super Bowl than any other Eagles game on the season. Like, wait, how could that team possibly need help on the defensive line? But it's because, they did lose some pieces. Now, you still have Jalen Carter there, and he's going to be one of the highest paid defensive tackles ever pretty soon.
Mr. 35% of the snaps himself.
He's still going to get paid a lot of money. And you come on, Jalen Carter is a beast.
I get it.
They still have Hurts, Smith, Brown, and Barkley.
Yes,
they're the best team.
That's the thing. So the defense should be very good again, and we'll see. Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they take another step up. Like that defense could be locked down. But it's when you look at the offensive side, there's no reason to doubt Jalen Hurts anymore. I just don't think there's reason to doubt him.
I'm not doubting it.
At least falling off a cliff. Like Jalen Hurts has his moments where he plays poor football.
But I mean, didn't he fall off a cliff the last time he went to the Super Bowl?
But yeah, I think Jalen Hurts in general is a very.
But like he's been there twice. Goff,
he
hasn't been there with Detroit yet.
It's hard to see with Barkley, Brown, and Smith, as you said, and that offensive line, how he's slowing them down.
Yeah, for me, it's as long as you have those four and a good offensive line, a block for Saquon.
But I don't believe in this dynasty that people are talking about. People are saying the Eagles are the next dynasty in the NFL.
They're a beatable team. Detroit can go out and beat them in the NFC Championship game. I wouldn't be surprised about it.
It feels like we were robbed of that game too last year. I thought I was so excited
at Detroit.
Yeah. Now, again, outside of my Viking interest and rooting against Detroit, it felt like we were robbed of that, inevitable game that we were waiting for all year of Philly going into Detroit. Now, given the injuries Detroit had, I think Philly actually probably wins that game. But that
who knows?
Yeah, that was the one where I couldn't wait to see that.
That would have been a game where people were legit 50-50. Like nobody knew the nobody. The Eagles were going to lose the Commanders. Like there was just no way.
I mean, they played a close game earlier in the year, but you could tell from didn't Barkley have a 60-yard run in the first touch of the game for first offensive play? That was over from the start. And I'm trying to remember, did the Commanders go down the field early to start that one?
The Commanders just dominated.
I can't remember what
the Eagles just destroyed them, I think.
I can't remember the beginning, but it ended 56 to something.
Yeah, I think they got a field goal, and then that was just about it.
It was a great drive, though. I think it was a great drive from Washington. And then the Saquon gets the ball and immediately scores. But it felt like we were robbed of that game. So I do think the Lions, when you talk about best team in the NFC next year, the conversation, like just teams you could consider, Lions and Eagles, right? Immediately. Teams just throwing them out. Commanders, no, I don't think they should be there. Packers, no. The Rams, I think the Rams actually are probably the third best team in the NFC. Vikings, too many question marks. 49ers, too many question marks.
Yeah, to me, it's Philly or Detroit.
So, and I think the Rams are up there. I really think the Rams could have a big season.
I mean, they're not winning their division, so what are you going to do?
Who is the Cardinals?
No, it's the 49ers.
This is the thing to watch.
The team at minus odds to win the division, one of the highest win totals in the NFC.
And we'll move to the Packers in 30 seconds here. I do just want to say something to watch for next year. And this is playing that schedule game again, which you can't play, but I'm going to play it anyway. The Lions and Eagles have two very difficult schedules next season. That NFC West, it's so weak. So just keep an eye on whether you believe in the 49ers or the Rams. As far as the one seeds go, schedule does matter. Now, we'll see how it shapes out. But right now, just listen to this and then we'll move on. The Eagles next year, at Buffalo, at Dallas, at Green Bay, at Kansas City, at the Chargers, at the Vikings. Then they have at the Giants too. Hosting the Cowboys, the Giants, Commanders. Then host the Bears, host the Lions, host the Broncos, host the Commanders, host the Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Raiders.
I ain't remembering all that.
No, you don't have to remember all that, but just as I went through it, if you hit 30 seconds back, as I list those teams off, just say in your head, really good or not. And most of those teams are really good.
What?
What?
Did you say most of those teams are really good?
Most of those teams I said are really good.
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
What?
Besides Buffalo.
Did you heard the teams I said, right?
Here comes Zach chiming in.
I thought they were very good.
No.
Bills, Chiefs, Packers, Chargers, Vikings.
We watched the Chiefs implode in the Super Bowl. So
are you serious right now? You're coming out here and you're saying the Chiefs aren't good?
I think they suck too. Yeah. I'm actually with you.
All right, go ahead. We can go through it real quick.
So, no. We're wrapping. I don't want to.
You tell me good or bad. Good or bad. Right?
Just say good or bad real quick.
Good or not.
I think with you, I think, Zach.
Bills.
Good.
Good.
Cowboys.
Bad.
Suck.
Cowboys might be better than you think next year. Packers.
Good.
Chiefs.
Suck.
Bad.
Well, that is
No, it doesn't.
Chargers at the Chargers.
Bad.
Suck. At the Vikings.
These guys are just lying. They are just lying.
No, it's not lying. The Chargers aren't going to be that good. The Eagles are just way better than the Chargers. Not going to
Commanders twice.
I think they beat them both.
Beat them twice.
Sure, but good team.
I think I actually might be with Zach.
At the Bucks.
Bucks suck, don't they?
No, they have Baker. We'll say good.
You're saying the Bucks are good, but the Chiefs aren't. Yeah, okay, man.
I believe the Rams.
Garbage.
Broncos.
Garbage.
Lions.
Garbage.
Raiders are garbage. Bears.
Garbage.
No, the Raiders are good.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of good teams on that schedule.
Like I could already tell the Eagles are going 14-3.
If they're the best team in the league, yes, they will beat them. Like that's how it goes. When you're the top dog, you beat the best teams. But like they did last year, they beat Baltimore.
What matters more, schedules or size?
I think what matters is the Green Bay Packers, who we should talk about.
Let's go on to the Packers. So
I'm actually with Zach.
What do you guys think actually post? If you had to rank my thoughts through the first three teams, it sounds like the McCarthy was like a canceled show bad. I thought the Lions and the Bears was decent though.
Yeah, I'd go probably Bears, Lions,
and then was the Vikings. Like, how bad was the Vikings?
It was bad. It was entertainment.
I considered walking off the show and holding out for a trade.
Like, are there going to be people who come in? Are there going to be people who come into this show for the first time? And they're going to go like that guy.
They won't be coming back.
People do have warped minds. Don't get what you're saying. So.
Oh, yeah, there'll be some deranged weirdos out there. Like, I understand what Paul's talking about. He's right. JJ McCarthy's literally Tom Brady, 22 years old. I bet he's going to be better than Tom Brady because he's going to win a Super Bowl in Minnesota. That's really hard.
Whose mind is more warped, yours or mine?
Honestly, it's probably closer than people think. Like the answer is you, but it depends on the subject. Like it really does. In terms of like talking yourself into, I don't know, man. You sat here 2 weeks ago and banging the table for Clemson to win the national championship. So
I also said the Eagles Super Bowl. You guys are sitting here dawdling your fingers about the Chiefs.
You also came off the Lions.
I know my football.
You also sat here for the Lions for a year and said
ball.
They were the team.
I do know ball.
You know ball. No, Jack's not bad, but like what Jack's really good.
We're not talking college basketball. It's a football.
What
show.
Jack's phenomenal at is. He'll go through his take the whole year that winds up being wrong, but pivot and then defend the new take that lasted for a week like it's been his take for life. You're very good at that.
I mean, did we just not sit here and like swear my whatever on the Eagles Super Bowl?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a prime example. We sat here the entire year and you were like, the Lions are the team. This is the greatest team ever. Team of destiny.
And then they
lost. They lost. The next day you went, the next week later, you went, the Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. It's not going to be close.
They got injured, the Lions.
Yes, they did.
So it's fair to, say, all right, Eagles were healthy. Let's go to that.
I'm pretty sure you picked them even when they were hurt. All right.
You have a warped mind.
You know who gets stuff right, though, is me about the Bengals.
The Bengals.
Yeah, on try number 4. We said we had so many.
No. When they beat the Giants, you guys were like, "Oh, maybe there's some of this Bengals team," and that's when I got off. And boy, was that correct.
You had them in your top 10 throughout in week 8, right?
No, they dropped out once they lost to the Giants, or once they beat the Giants by 10.
The Giants. Still after the Lions, the Packers is a really tough one for me. The Lions actually came pretty quickly, but when I sit down, I really start thinking I can lock in similar to the great quarterbacks of the league, like JJ McCarthy. And I thought to myself, all right, the Packers here, we've really exhausted Packer content, it feels like. And I don't want to just go on Jordan Love. What could that question be? And I think a fair one to ask is, we were talking the other day about the Packers and whether Jordan Love, are you all right over there, producer Zach?
Yeah, had to fix the mic.
I was wondering if, we said, is Jordan Love a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? And I think we all said yes, but it's going to take, him taking that step again that he didn't last year. But then I started thinking more about the team and the Packers fans and the disappointment of last year. And when comparing them to the Lions and the Packers' struggles in the division, I was like, all right, actually, how close is Green Bay to a Super Bowl as a football team, right? Right now. Because Jordan Love clearly had to step back last year, clearly had the injury. If you look at all the statistics, they were down, of course, from the great run that he had. But when you think about it here, too, the NFL playoff teams, let me ask you guys this. For one game, right? You have to win one game. The playoff
in 2025?
Right now, okay? The playoff quarterbacks last year in the NFC were Love, and now just tell me whether or not you take Love or this guy. Love or Goff. One game.
Like with
Goff.
the same roster?
If you're just starting your team, one game.
I think I'd probably take Love.
Yeah? Jalen Hurts?
Hurts.
Jayden Daniels?
Daniels.
Stafford?
And Matthew Stafford's old. I'm taking Jordan Love.
I'm taking Stafford, too. Baker?
Jordan Love. No question.
I think I take Love, but Baker's been pretty damn good.
Baker is good. I think I take Love.
And Darnold. You take Love.
Jordan Love.
So there's three surefire,
I'll take
right?
McCarthy over Love. Though.
Where you take, and some people will push back on Jalen Hurts here, but you're taking Matthew Stafford, you're taking Jayden Daniels, and right now I think most people would take Jalen Hurts.
If there's pushback on the Jalen Hurts take, you're crazy.
It's close, but so those are three that I think most people will take. Yeah. I think it's pretty damn close for most people on Goff or Baker and Love at the moment, and then everyone would take him over Sam after the implosion. But when you sit back and you think to yourself, all right, this is a guy we gave $220 million. He can't be fourth on that list by the end of the year. He can't be. And for some of these lists, he's going to be fifth or sixth.
I mean, that could all change in the span of one season.
Oh, yeah, it can. But that's,
who on earth thought Jayden Daniels would do this?
100%.
He could fall off.
100%. But that's something that needs, so that's one thing already that needs to flip, right? You need a receiver probably to step up. And when you start going down the Packers roster, it's a really, really talented team. And I believe in them. I think they are a Super Bowl team. But there are a lot of little ifs that are attached. There's not too many gigantic questions. But when you have 4 or 5 ifs, that could be a larger problem.
Yeah. How do you feel about having the highest paid left guard and the highest paid center in football? Yeah. Sorry, number 2 and number 2.
Yeah, no, I mean,
need, in order to justify that, they need their offensive line to be elite, like Philadelphia Eagles level elite next year.
Yeah, like the Packers have I've said this a million times. The Packers have a bunch of guys that need to step up and play for what their expectations are. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think there are a lot of improvements in Jeff Hafley in year one. But you saw what the Eagles did on their run to the Super Bowl, how that defense just took over games. And that's an unfair expectation to place on the Packers.
I mean, the Packers defense shut down the Eagles offense better than any other team in the playoffs.
No, they did it. They did a great job. And they're a few pieces away here. But when you talk about like pressure percentage, right? They were 26th in the league. And you might push back and say, hey, Paul, they were 7th in sacks. So we go, yeah, they were. They had 45 sacks. 15.
Better lucky than good sometimes.
15 of them came in 2 games. So the numbers for the Packers, the pressure numbers need to go up. When Jair Alexander was out, you saw a lot of problems in the secondary. When Evan Williams was out, you saw problems. I think they have a little bit better depth if Jair comes back. If he doesn't, that's a problem in the secondary. So how close really do you think, Ziggy, are the Packers to being a Super Bowl team? Like, do they belong on that shelf with the Lions and the Eagles and the Rams? Or are they very clearly a tier 2 or tier 3 contender?
I was sitting back earlier today. We're thinking about questions to ask people when we're at the NFL draft. And one of the things that was sticking in my mind was, imagine you go to a Packers fan and ask them, what's the hardest part about being a Packers fan? I think there's a lot you can say to that, right? Like, what's the most frustrating part of being a Vikings fan? The answer is everything looks great until you need it the most. And then it completely falls apart.
We almost win. We almost always win.
Something like that. No, it's different with the Vikings. It's we win 13 or 14 games, and then the New York Giants come to town. And we're just horrible. Or like we need to win one game between like a wild card game or the Lions in order to make it to the divisional round. We can't do it. Like with the Vikings, when you need us the most, we fall apart. The Steelers, what's the most frustrating thing? The answer is we're always okay. We're never bad. We're never great. With the Dolphins, what's the most frustrating thing? We're always terrible. We're just a perennial garbage franchise, but unlike the Browns, nobody recognizes it. The most frustrating part of being a Packers fan, I think, is that what?
Unlike the Browns, nobody recognizes it as the quote of this podcast.
It's true. No, it's like the Dolphins have won. It's been like what 25 years.
Save it because we're going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them. But here's the frustrating thing about being a Packers fan: at no point are all three units of your team good at the same time. When the offense was great in 2023, the defense was terrible. When the offense and the defense were good, the special teams absolutely sold you in a home playoff game. When the defense was really good last year, the offense had its struggles. Like, you look and see all this talent, but they're never on the same page. They never play complementary football in the way you want. And that's really what the Packers need next year. I don't think they need anybody to play. What? Yeah, it's like you don't need anybody to take a huge step forward. You need everyone to play their good football at the same time. Because if half the season the offense is great and the defense is terrible, and the other half the defense is terrible and the offense is great, or your special teams continually lets you down in moments or whatever, you'll get held back. In order to win a Super Bowl, everything needs to go right for your team 4 or 5 games in a row, right? Whether you've got to like win a couple games to win your division or whether you need to go on a run. Like, that's just how it is.
You know what's funny though? Ziggy's pretty good, and he'll make a good politician if he chooses to enter the field one day, because the question asked was, are the Packers on the same show?
No. So here's the answer. Here's the answer to that question. You were talking about how the Packers are when you need to have talent, they need to have what ifs. Here's the only what if they need to answer. Can we all play decent football at the same time? And I think it's possible. Okay, but the track record says they're not going to.
He just did it again.
He's a philosopher, man.
So no, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Do they belong on the tier 1 of NFC contenders?
No, because the tier 1 of NFC contenders are teams that play consistent football. The Lions. I know it fell apart, but how many games did they string where they played great football until the injuries added up? The Eagles. Why have they been good? When the time comes to win the division, right? People were wondering, are the Commanders going to catch them? No, they walloped the Commanders and then went on a run for the rest of the season. You can throw other teams up there, but if you're talking about being a tier 1 contender, you look at the AFC, right? Teams like the Chiefs, like the Bills, they play good football when it counts. Everything works when it counts. And that doesn't mean you win every single game.
He's right. I think it's very.
But the Packers, I just don't. This is their curse. This is what's wrong with the Packers and why it looks like it's a blue sky franchise from the outside, but the fans tell us that they're just depressed with the way this team goes. They don't put it all together for an extended stretch. And I'm just not sure that's going to happen this year. It feels like they've got so many players who are streaky, right? You have a defense that can generate 15 sacks in 2 games. And that's about all they'll do for the year. You've got an offense where a quarterback can throw 31 touchdowns and 1 interception. But who knows if he's going to get hurt again? Like, it just doesn't feel like everything's going to work out for them. So maybe this year will be different. Maybe they'll break their curse. But I'm not super optimistic.
Ziggy, do you put it all together when the time counts?
I always take care of business, Jack.
Good.
100% of the time.
That's what I thought you'd say. I think next year when the Packers have Shamar Stewart and he has like 22 sacks, they'll be the top seed.
It's a culture changer.
They'll be the top seed
culture reset in the NFC. In the NFC.
There's such a difference to me in the AFC and the NFC. I don't think that Green Bay belongs up there right now with Detroit and Philly, but not that far behind. I mean, they played twice tough with Detroit last year, lost in the game-winning field goal on the road, correct?
The second time. The first one was the disaster.
Right. Yeah, left couldn't walk. But second time on the road, he was healthier. It was a field goal game. Mm-hmm. And the AFC, you have those teams. You have the Chiefs, the Bills, and Baltimore.
I thought you were going to say the Steelers.
Unfortunately not, I wish. Maybe this year with DK Metcalf.
And Jackson Dart.
But those 3 teams, it's one of those 3 teams now for like years and years. I guess Bengals too, but they've been irrelevant lately. But who?
Well, that was the problem for the Bengals, was their defense sucked.
Yeah, but it's one of those 3 teams every year. Like, okay, I'll bet my life that one of these 3 teams goes to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Whereas the NFC, you rattled off a list of those quarterbacks before, and a lot of those lists, Jordan Love probably would be number 5 or number 6.
He'd at least be close to the best guys.
But yeah, like he's not far off. Like, there are more Super Bowl hopeful, Super Bowl caliber teams in the NFC, and Green Bay is one of them. Whereas the AFC, that's not the case.
Yeah, like right now, if you put a gun to your head and I said,
put in the AFC, I'd say no.
Yeah.
But right now in the NFC, they're probably the third best team. And can they beat Philly? Can they beat Detroit? Yeah. Can the Texans beat the Chiefs or Baltimore? I don't think they can.
If you look at like the NFC Championship game too, over the past few years, you have like Commanders, Eagles, Lions, 49ers, 49ers, Eagles, 49ers, Rams, Packers, Bucks, Packers, 49ers, New Orleans, Rams, Vikings, Eagles. Like there are some consistencies there. And, you know, the 49ers, it really shows how great the 49ers have been, being to like 4 of the last 5 or 4 of the last 6. But in the AFC, it's a lot of just Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs, Raiders, Chiefs. Like there's more. You are right. The NFC feels like you have more of those one-off amazing seasons by teams.
Look at the Commanders.
But that's because they don't. That's because none of the NFC teams have that quarterback.
Yeah, the Commanders. I mean, when the problem with the Texans and why they couldn't go on a run was they had to go to Baltimore, right, during that great CJ Stroud year.
Yeah.
There's no equivalent of having to go to Baltimore in the NFC.
Like that's what to me makes Green Bay a contender. It's I think they're good, but it's less of how I think about them and just they have a more beatable path. Like,
but what's frustrating about this Packers team though, if you're a fan, is it just doesn't feel like they're making changes that are likely to address the issues. Right? The special teams have been a disaster. The game management has been a disaster. So you might think your game management and special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia, should eventually be out the door. Instead, he got a big extension this offseason.
Well, that's why
I just haven't seen evidence they're addressing the problems.
That's what they're frustrated with, Ziggy. Is I mean, you see it in our comments.
They're not that much worse than these teams, though.
No, I don't think they are that much worse. But like what you actually might be the answer to your question of what's the biggest frustration is that they've been kind of dull lately. I mean, they signed Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs, but they're sort of inactive a lot of the times, it feels like. And I think that this year, that's the big pressing point. You can't say it all the time because 2 years ago, they had a great offseason. But this year, I think what's pissing Packers fans off is a lot of them think we're kind of there and we need something else to push us over the edge, and we didn't do it.
When the great front offices have windows, like the Rams or like the Eagles, they go all in every single year and decide we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, if it didn't work, and look, if the Rams missed it, you missed your window. Like it happens, but you can reset. Same thing with the Eagles. If you miss it, you miss it. Like the 49ers, they probably missed it. But the difference with the Packers here, and it goes back to your point, Jack, when you talk about all the great quarterbacks in the AFC, a difference for Green Bay from these other NFC teams is that they believe they have a quarterback who could be a guy. When you rattle off the teams that are in the championship game every single season, like Jordan Love and Jayden Daniels are probably the two in the NFC that you would say, if you had to pick someone to elevate to top 5 quarterback status, I'd probably pick those guys over Jalen Hurts.
But think about it, though, Paul. The Packers, for how long, have had the guy at quarterback? They had Brett Favre at quarterback. They had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Now I think they have the guy number 3. That's 25 years of quarterback play that most teams dream of. And they got 2 Super Bowls out of it.
Yeah, but I know, but every single year you looked at that team, they had the fail, or not the fail, Mary. They had the Seattle helmet onside kick. You know, they got blown out by Atlanta. They lost to San Francisco a few times. Like they lost to Brady and the Bucks at home. Like there were a lot of games that they just had like a really crappy luck at the end, or B, didn't show up when they were like 13-3 and had an MVP caliber player. Like,
and that's probably going to happen again.
Maybe
winning a Super Bowl is near impossible, and there's a huge difference in being a contender and someone who can do it versus actually getting there and winning.
That's why it's absolutely insane that the two of you guys are saying the Chiefs are a bad team when for 7 straight years,
well, they stink.
Patrick Mahomes has done what you just said is one of the hardest things to do, is get you to an AFC championship game. It's unreal to think that team is not going back to the AFC championship.
They're done now. For last year's, they're finished now.
All right, so let's get ready to wind down the show here. Ziggy, you had Jack's favorite quote of the episode when you said the Dolphins are what they're pretending to be the Browns. What was
no,
it?
They're the Browns, but no one knows. They don't get enough.
The Browns, but no one knows.
No one notices it.
No one notices. Producer Zach, you as a Dolphin fan, where's your head at right now? You all right?
Yeah, I'm loving it. What I'm hearing, I want us to blow it up.
But they're not blowing it up. They're saying we're getting rid of Jalen Ramsey and keeping Tyreek Hill.
We're not blowing it up. But you know who's blowing it up for us? Are the players. Blowing it up for us. Jalen Ramsey wants out. Tyreek Hill wants out.
Armstead retired. They're doing it for us. It's going great in my eyes. So in a perfect world for you, I have two questions. In a perfect world, you're getting rid of Tyreek. You're getting rid of Jalen Ramsey. You're starting over here.
Well, I'm starting over.
Now, just starting over, the second question, does that mean moving on from Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah. He gone.
So you're done. You don't believe anymore.
I don't think, what was it? I think the last year and a half, I don't think I've believed in Tua. I didn't want to give him the contract.
It was a crazy big contract. We talk about all the QBs that got these deals that teams regret. So
he's the third or fourth highest paid quarterback now?
He's right. Was he $55 million a year? Is he 55? He's right in that range. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ziggy, we talked about this the other day. Can the Dolphins realistically move on from Tua?
If they can find someone who will trade for him, they can move on from him anytime they want. If they need to cut him, they can cut him next offseason.
Can you imagine if the Browns somehow found a way to trade for Tua? What their quarterback room?
Also, but here's the thing about the Dolphins is I think they should be seriously considering a quarterback in this draft. They should be taking a guy and seeing what happens. A guy like Milrow that you might want to sit for a year. And just like
you're not saying at 13.
No, in the second round, I think they should be taking a quarterback unless there's a guy at 13 they really like. But they should be looking into the quarterbacks very carefully. And if there's a guy they think won't make it to the second round, they should take him in the first round. The Eagles did this when they had Carson Wentz and weren't 100% sure. They took Jalen Hurts in the second round, and people were like, "What are you doing? You don't need a quarterback." How'd that work out?
Can you realistically get a trade partner for Tua without eating and just an insane amount of money?
Well, the thing is whoever trades for him is going to be responsible. The way this contract is set up, the signing bonus is large, but a lot of that's been paid. There's the other stuff is cut up in option bonuses, which are fully guaranteed. They'll be responsible with the team that trades for him. But if you're getting Tua, say not at $50 million a year, but take the signing bonus out, it's more like $40 million a year, and it's easier to cut him in a couple of years.
I think
there are a lot of teams. I mean, Geno Smith is getting $45 million a year, right?
Geno Smith or Tua?
Tua's got more upside.
I think I take Tua.
You know what I think the Dolphins should do is just intentionally go like 0-17.
Get Arch Manning.
No. Get that beast from Texas A&M, number 1 overall next year. That quarterback. What's his name? He'll be a first round pick next year.
The A&M QB.
He'll be the highest. He's like a Heisman favorite this year. What's his name? He's amazing. He was a freshman last year.
Yes, not the guy who played against ND.
No, that guy stunk. It was the other one who came in later in the season.
Hold on, let me find it. Wow. Oh, hey, look at this. Heisman hopefuls. Number 2, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame.
Right.
Hold on, let me find it, Jack.
Or Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina.
Jack,
he's amazing.
I'm scrolling through here and I don't see.
Who's the Texas A&M starting quarterback?
Yeah, who's the A&M starting?
Yeah, no. I decided to go Texas A&M starting QB. Marcel Reed?
Yeah, Marcel Reed.
I wish we had a producer that could look stuff up for us while we were talking. Yeah.
You tank for Marcel Reed or Lenore?
I don't have a computer or anything in front of me. The budget doesn't. No, budget only works for Paul.
But you're on your phone the whole show.
Never on my phone, Ziggy.
Little banter back. That's what no. You do that. You tank for Reed or Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina. That's what you do.
It's really tough being in that Dolphins position where you're tied up so much in one QB and the quarterback's going to keep you relevant. I think as long as Tua is there, the Dolphins will be
like 7-10.
Yeah, and by relevant, I don't mean Super Bowl relevant. I mean they'll be in wild card ish contention probably.
They have a decent chance of finishing second in the division.
A lot of people think the Dolphins are winning like 5 games this year, which is I actually think that's wrong. I just think that's wrong. When Tua played last year, weren't you in wild card contention?
Their win total is 9.5.
Yeah, like I don't understand the whole. You can hate on the Dolphins as a playoff contender, but you can't hate on them as a wild card team potentially.
I mean, a wild card-ish team is not saying you're all that good. Yeah.
No, but that's what I mean. And that's where you're stuck in this purgatory.
I mean, the Falcons last year were a wild card-ish team.
Welcome to purgatory, Zach. I've been here for years.
Yeah. And that's a great thing about the Vikings is the Vikings are often
we're bimodal.
Yeah, I guess. Would you consider Kirk Cousins a purgatory quarterback?
No, Kirk Cousins was taking us into the playoffs, and he took us on a run.
I mean, yeah, we had 13 wins a few years ago. That's like the
playoff results were disappointing, but that's not purgatory.
That's the weird thing about us. We'll go 13-4, and then we'll win 7 games the next year, and then we'll win 14. And it's like, who is this team? But the Dolphins. I mean, you talk about consistency. The Dolphins year after year just suck.
It's tough to be a fan of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I do think though that when you look at Tua, if I were a Dolphins fan, I'd be past the point where I believe that he could take us to the Super Bowl. And I think that if that's the determination you make, you need to start considering other options. And it sucks because I really like Tua, and I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I don't think that this stint in Miami is going to result in them holding up the Lombardi Trophy.
It's Bama QBs. They all stink. He's like, you like my Tampa?
Jalen Hurts
he's Oklahoma. You like my Buccaneers sweater?
So wait, we'll do the draft now, but we're all on move on from Tua.
Move on from as much of this team as you can.
Yeah, I'd say so.
If you don't have the guy, you need to go find the guy.
You don't touch Alabama QBs. I've been saying it for years.
Okay, why don't we do our landmark draft and we'll get out of here. All right.
Do we need a landmark draft now?
Oh, I want to do some landmark drafting here. Pull up some landmarks and decide.
Oh, I've got so many landmarks here.
Let me grab my pen.
I mean, this could be a 10-round draft.
Let's roll through.
This could be. Grab my pen. All right, Ziggy. Pick numbers 1 through 3. Order them.
1, 2, 3.
All right, you, me, Jack. That is the order for this draft. So.
I didn't want one in the landmark draft.
Yeah, I know. It's really.
But I think I know what the 1-1 of landmarks is.
There are a lot of landmarks to consider here. All right, you got the 1-1, Ziggy.
There are.
I mentioned Kant a little bit earlier in the show, so I'm going to mention Kant one more time. If you read the third critique, which is the best critique by far, Kant talks about the feeling of the sublime. So he's got this thing. I'm not going to get too deep into the faculties, but basically he says this feeling of the sublime, it's kind of aesthetic feeling when you're trying to subsume something under a concept and you can't because it's too big. It's too amazing. And he thinks human inventions just aren't able to do this in the same way. So you can't take a human-made landmark at 1-1. I'm going to take the biggest, baddest landmark of them all. We're taking the Grand Canyon, 1-1.
Oh, that's what Jack wanted, I think.
I've been there. Have you been there? I'm sure you've been there. I mean,
I've never been there.
Really?
Wow.
One place I've been that Mr. Ziegler has not. It is seriously jaw-dropping. That's what I was going to take in the first round too.
Gosh,
there's so many picks. It's hard to have a clear 1-1. But I feel like the Grand Canyon is respectable.
Yeah. No, the Grand Canyon was an amazing place. I was throwing rocks. I was 11 years old. I was throwing rocks off the canyon because you can see
they're probably still falling.
We can see the Colorado River running through the canyon from up top. So I was like heaving rocks down into the river. And this lady comes up to me and she's like, son, there's people down there. Stop throwing those rocks. And then she yelled at she yelled at my dad for not telling me to stop throwing the rocks. But that's my Grand Canyon story. So hopefully I didn't kill anybody.
Man, there are so many just fantastic options in this draft. You know what? You guys were gonna kill me if I went with New York. I'm gonna take the Coliseum in Rome, where
not where USC plays.
Where I went to not there. Where I studied abroad for life-changing study abroad experience in Rome. But you hear people talk about the Roman Empire being like a guy's thing to think about. I wouldn't classify myself as a Roman Empire guy. But then when I really think about it, I'm like, it is pretty unbelievable still how some of these, like, how are you having naval battles in the Colosseum? How are you filling that up with water and having ships fight? Like, that was just a ridiculous place. I mean, to have it still standing is pretty cool. I'll go Colosseum.
I'm sure it's a great pick. I know it's like super historic. I don't know nothing about it though, so
it's awesome, and it's an awesome place. I don't know, awesome. I mean, there's a lot of horrible things that happen.
You're awesome.
Thank you. All right, Jack, you got the turn.
All right, I'm taking the Four Corners. I think the Four Corners is super cool because you can sit and you can touch 4 states at once. Yes, I'm taking the 4.
That's all right.
What? Okay, Jack's third.
Ziggy, you can't sit in
first round. You're taking the Four Corners.
Sit in the Grand Canyon.
You can't sit in the Grand Canyon and touch 4 other states at once, can you? No. Four corners.
Is that even a landmark?
Corners, you can stick your butt.
I'll let him count it if he wants to count.
Put your left foot in Utah, your right foot in Arizona, your right butt cheek in New Mexico, and your left butt.
I'm thinking something where if you go to Europe and you're like, hey, what are you excited to see in America? I don't think they know what the four corners is. I don't know if that can count as
tough luck for them. Tough luck for them.
All right.
Enough. Four corners.
Jack's got the four corners.
Okay, you got the. All right.
You got to pick something better here.
Oh, I will. I'm taking PNC Park. The nicest stadium in sports.
Oh God! All right, so the integrity of this draft.
And wait for round 3. Anything is a landmark. I was told anything is a landmark.
No, it's not that it doesn't count. It's that it's such a bad choice.
Okay. So this is now turned into a 1v1.
The nicest stadium in all of sports.
This is a 1v1, Ziggy. Me and you here. I'm gonna go with the Eiffel Tower. I think the Eiffel Tower was almost my number 2 here. I think it might be the most iconic building in the world. I think
it's a great building.
I've never seen it before.
Oh, I have.
It's so like iconic and special.
I mean, it's kind of overrated. You just get robbed when you're underneath it.
I'm sure it's over. But the Eiffel Tower. If I told you picture a famous building or picture a famous landmark, I think a lot of people would actually picture the Eiffel Tower first.
It's just a random building. Like four corners, you can touch 4 states at once.
That's a random spot.
The Eiffel Tower is just like
the four corners is a random spot.
Yeah, you can touch 4 states at the same time. That's like pretty cool. Eiffel Tower's like, oh, what is this? But
you understand, like states and all that. We're just lines that we draw. It's like literally like you walk outside, touch dirt. That's the exact same thing as
that's just one state.
But you're not seeing anything.
You can touch 4 states.
You're not seeing anything.
What do you see at the
Eiffel
Eiffel Tower?
You're seeing a line that says here's what are the 4 states?
Eiffel Tower. Oh, it's a building.
But you're seeing something.
Oh yeah, it's a building.
Corners, you just look down. And you go, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. There's 4 lines.
Oh, cool. It's a building.
That's way cooler than 4 lines on the ground.
You can see a building anywhere.
I can't argue the Eiffel Tower versus. All right.
No, I can't either. Your stupidity is making me stupider.
You're on the turn, Ziggy.
All right. I feel like I got 2 pretty solid choices here. The turn we're opening up with Angkor Wat.
See, this is the problem with this show. It's like
4 corners. What is that?
I turn to my.
You don't know what Angkor Wat is?
You're gonna sit here and criticize the 4 corners, and you're spewing this nonsense out.
Zach, you know.
You think Zach knows what that is?
And you seriously don't know what Angkor Wat is?
In Cambodia?
Paul's picking down Coliseum and wherever God knows where. You're picking this.
This is the easiest draft in the history.
And I am getting...
It's the largest and without a doubt most interesting religious structure in the entire world.
You're a fool.
What happened at Angkor Wat?
What do you mean what happened?
What goes on at Angkor Wat? Like what?
It started off as a Hindu temple and then it became a Buddhist temple. If you watch the end of In the Mood for Love, really interesting scene with it. But this is an unbelievable place. I guess it makes sense you've never heard of it, but what are you going to do? I can't believe you've never heard of Angkor Wat.
This is the problem with this draft here for me. Is like I didn't want the first pick because there were too many options. Now I'm like back. I'm back in this problem where like you're taking PNC Park.
Your landmarks are overrated.
Okay, but hold on. I get my turn. I get one more.
Yeah, Z is one.
For this third one, I'm taking the Moai statues.
The Moai statues?
I have to.
The Easter Island heads.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
So they're gigantic. They're incredibly, I mean, you wonder how they move them. It's an incredible bit of like ancient sculpture. Like these things are just super cool.
So I'm walking them in. Is going to go undrafted.
That is pretty cool. Ziggy, I like it. Easter Island. Okay, so Ziggy's locked in with Grand Canyon, Angkor Wat, and Easter Island. I now have to go along with the Coliseum and the Eiffel Tower. It's between.
Oh, that was my pick.
No, I've got everything. I've got natural wonder, human-made like artistic wonder, and religious wonder. Boom, 3 landmarks.
I'll say I do like that. This is tough here. This is tough, and I'm willing to speak through this because Jack will probably take like a birdhouse in the middle of Pennsylvania or something.
That's going to take the world's largest ball of twine.
I think it's between the 2 New York landmarks, Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building, or the Great Pyramids. The Great Pyramids are just...
But here's the pyramid's just like a stupid shape.
There's
what do you mean it's a stupid shape?
I can take a block, be like, oh, here's a little pyramid.
Have you seen... What do you know about the Great Pyramid?
I can literally just take a little block and be like, oh, here's a pyramid, great.
I think the pyramids are cool, but I'm going to go with one of the New York ones. I'm going to
Zach
go.
agrees.
I'm going to go with the Empire State Building. I think the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty is amazing, but the Empire State Building, the most popular city in the world, in the greatest country in the world, the Empire State Building might be. Oh, is it? Which one's the symbol of America?
You know what a land?
It's the Statue of Liberty. It's not the Empire State Building, but it's too late. It's too late. You're locked in.
Well, I think the Empire State Building is unbelievable.
It's just a building. Like, you can't do anything. I'm taking Allendale Bar and Grill. I'm serious.
No, you're not. What are you taking?
That place has fed me for years.
That's not a landmark.
Yes, it's a landmark.
It counts as a landmark, Paul. You said when I came up to New Jersey, you wanted to show it.
It's a building. So is the Empire State Building. They're both buildings. It's like,
famous landmarks is the draft. Famous landmarks.
You just said landmarks.
Yeah, we said landmarks.
Oh, all right.
Fine, I'll switch to Sobelman's in Milwaukee.
Oh, God.
Give me Sobelman's. Give me PNC Park, the Four Corners, and Sobelman's.
Okay.
I would much rather that than the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids and who cares?
Here we go. Ready, Zach?
You can have a good burger.
Your options.
Good burger. Great.
You don't even tell me. I already have the winner. The winner is Paul.
What do you mean the winner is Paul?
Zach. What? For me, you can.
Zach, am I at least number 2?
Yeah, you're at least number 2. Jack is just in his own little world right now.
A beautiful baseball stadium.
This might be the worst draft we've ever seen out of Jack.
A delicious burger.
Well, Jack ruined the draft.
Touching 4 states at once.
Jack ruined
it. I think Jack's just mad that we picked this over the idea he wanted before draft.
No, I legit drafted my landmarks. I don't care.
Who's voting for you?
People will vote for me.
If anybody defends it, please let us know in the comments which one you want.
I got Sobelman's round 3. Everyone's defending me. Everyone's voting.
If you know what Angkor Wat is, please just come into the comments and bail me out.
Touching 4 states at once, PNC Park, best place in the world, and a great burger at Sobelman's.
I am curious, Jack. Had you been restricted to famous landmarks, what would you have taken on the 3-4 turn initially?
I would have kept my first 2 at Four Corners and PNC Park.
No, famous landmarks.
Yes, Four Corners, PNC Park.
Okay, so there's nothing.
Then I would have taken the Rocky Mountains at 3.
All right, so Jack was getting annihilated no matter what happened in this draft.
Oh, great. You took some building in France. Fantastic.
Easter Island's pretty cool, Ziggy.
And Ziggy took some random heads. Great.
We'll wrap up the show here. I can't see many other ways that this can go. So we'll wrap up the show.
We apologize for what that draft was.
I bet you people will pick me to win.
Jack, I'm worried you actually believe that.
Have you been to PNC Park?
I'm worried about the comments.
Have you been to PNC Park? That's the nicest landmark in the world.
It's a nice baseball stadium.
Yeah,
consistently voted the best.
Better than these like random little pyramids in Egypt.
So we will not be recording to everyone's probably very disappointed about that. We will not be recording next week early on Monday, and then we'll be leaving for the draft on Tuesday night, and hopefully on Thursday. The plan right now is to go live from the NFL draft. So we have a week off from our content. But we will be putting out hopefully social reels and all draft day content over the course of the next week. So apologies for the lack of an episode coming out early, but we hope to make up for that with. Have
we settled on where the meetup is on Wednesday?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And we're gonna have to put because most people are not going to make it this far. But right now, the plan is to go to Stadium View by Lambeau Field. And go to that bar. And if you want to hang out with us, we'll be there Wednesday. We might even get dinner there. I don't know. We'll put out the time though. Plan right now, like 6:30 at
we'll have to think about the day as the schedule comes out, but that doesn't sound outrageous.
Yes, the plan is to go to Stadium View on Wednesday evening.
Just
looks awesome.
Warn the fellas here. 6:30 and Paul time means like 7:15.
Yes.
There's only one person who's consistently late for the show.
So if we're there a bit later. This is Paul's house, though. You come on.
No, fair enough.
That's cheating.
Yeah, come on. You can't do that.
But I appreciate the defense, Ziggy. I think I'm one of our more punctual friends.
All right. Well, we'll wrap the show here. We look forward to seeing some of you next week.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys then.